Recording. Go ahead, Dmitry. Please keep your microphones muted if you're not speaking. There will be a lot of people on the call.
Okay, so let's get started. So this is basically a webinar about creating CI/CD pipelines for Eclipse EE4J projects. My name is Dmitry Kornilov. I'm from Oracle, and I'm also a EE4J PMC member. Their agenda for today's meeting is I will talk for about 10 minutes. And it's mainly general information, process overview, progress tracking, how to get help, and this kind of stuff. After that, we actually have two workable CI/CD pipelines, and one is created by Tomas Kraus, JSON-P project. He's going to talk about that for 20 minutes after my presentation. And the next one is Markus Karg. He is an author of workable JAX RS CI/CD release pipeline. He's going to explain it in details after Tomas. And in the last 10 minutes, we are going to have a Q&A session. If we finish earlier, Q&A session will be longer, right? So let me start. Oh, sorry. So general workflow. So this is mainly for your understanding how their process works. So our goal is to release OSS. Please mute, folks. I can hear someone is talking. Thank you. So the goal is to release projects to OSS RH staging repository. OSS RH is open source Sonatype repository hosting, so nothing related to Red Hat here. And after that, we are planning to release all artifacts to Maven Central, but we can do it only after all integrations are done and all CTS, TCK tests are passed. So release must be done from EE4J8 branch. We have all our repositories on GitHub, and there was a PMC request sometimes at the beginning of the year to create EE4J8 branch. I have a link to that document in the slides. I will show it to you later. Important thing is that EE4J8 branch must have a version number, which is a minor increase from the latest Oracle release. So our example is if the latest Oracle release is, let's say, 2.1.0, EE4J8 branch must contain 2.1.1. That's the rule. And just to remind you that no API changes are allowed for now. Release must be done from Eclipse Jenkins infrastructure, and it's done for security reason. Each EE4J project has its own account in OSS RH, and account details are hidden and available only to Jenkins Jobs. So Jenkins Jobs must use Maven Nexus plugin to make releases, and the credentials to OSS RH will be provided automatically by Eclipse infrastructure. Folks will explain how it works in the following presentations, Tomas and Markus. And if it's not clear, Eclipse webmasters are on the call, so they can even explain it better. So in order to achieve that, projects must request Jenkins Instance to be created first, and after that, project must provide a list of released artifacts and request granting write access to the corresponding groups in OSS RH to the project account. And this request is done in Eclipse Bugzilla. Again, it's described in on the wiki pages I created. I will give links to that later. And Tomas and Markus will explain how jobs are leveraging Maven Nexus plugin in their presentations. Progress tracking. So how we track the progress? Basically, GitHub is our main source of truth. And I personally created two tasks in each EE4J repository. One task is build CI/CD pipeline. So this is to create a pipeline which builds the project. And another task is release CI/CD pipeline. And this is a pipeline to release the project. And this issue looks like that. So here is a sample of JPA project, release CI/CD pipeline. It has links to the wiki documents, so you can click it and get some instructions. Important is that project committers must self-assign to that issue. I see that this issue is not assigned yet. Issues must have a build label. So this is a label I created for to sort of group up all these issues together. And it should be a part of a CI/CD pipelines project. So I will touch a little bit later, actually now. So it's used for tracking the progress. And it looks like this. So you can access it if you go to EE4J organization, and in projects, there is a link to CI/CD pipelines project. It has 3 columns: to do, in progress, done. And you see all the issues here. Here is the nice progress indicator. It indicates that we have 5 issues done, 59 in progress, and 23 to do. So the picture is much better than it was yesterday, which is very nice. So when you self-assign yourself here to the issue, your icon will appear at the bottom right corner, and you also can move this card to in progress, right? So when it's done, you move it to the done column. You can do it yourself, or I can do it for you. I'm checking this page quite often, many times a day. So again, GitHub is the main source of truth. Another tracking spreadsheet I have is that. I provided the link to that one. And this is mainly like for your information on the meetings to demonstrate the whole progress. It has a nice indication in the red. There we have unassigned tasks, and light gray for repositories which have not been transferred yet, and this kind of stuff. Again, this is mainly for your information. You can comment here, but nothing else you can do here. Please use GitHub. Next slide, deadline. So I will probably send the complete release schedule to the PMC mailing list today or maybe tomorrow morning because we are not quite sure with the plan yet. But I think what we are agreed on, that deadline for CI/CD tasks is 1st of October this year. So we still have 2 weeks to complete all of these, right? So it's enough time to do it. So hopefully we will be able to achieve this deadline. And possibly the main questions you have is how to get help. So I created some wiki pages. So first of all, here is the link to the PMC statement I mentioned on the first slide. This document looks like that. You have a link on the slides. I'll send the slides to the mailing list after the meeting. There is a wiki page about how to release the first Eclipse version of projects on EE4J wiki. You have a link, and each release issue like that has a link to that as well. So general information, release and Maven artifact, links to some articles to how to create a bug, information about release review. Release review is out of scope of today's meeting, but anyway, you can check it, right? And another link is, this is what Tomas created. He's going to present after me, JSON release job. I'm not going to spend much time here. Tomas will explain it better, right? So you are welcome to create more pages. If something's not clear, if you have a better pipeline, if you have any questions and you get answers, you think that others need to know the answers, create your own wiki pages on our GitHub, in GitHub repositories, and advertise them in that mailing list, right? So this mailing list, EE4J build mailing list, is the last resort if you didn't find any information you need on the wiki pages. Just ask your question there. We are all on this mailing list. We'll be happy to help you. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining this webinar. Thank you for contributing to Jakarta EE. I believe that together we'll be able to push it forward. That's it from my side, and I'm passing presentation to Tomas Kraus, who will explain his JSON P release pipeline. I'm stop sharing. Tomas, please.
Yeah. Hello. So I'm Tomas Kraus, and I am also Oracle employee and developer for many years. Well, I would like to tell you a couple of words about our builds and CI/CD and release jobs for EE4J projects. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to tell you a couple of words about the article that Dmitry showed us before. So this is the wiki page about release jobs. And first thing that you have to do when you have a new project on Eclipse.org is to get Jenkins environment for yourself. So to do so, you cannot just set up all the things yourself, but you have to open a bug on Eclipse Bugzilla and ask for Jenkins instance to be created for you. This Jenkins instance is created not per GitHub repository, but per project. So usually one project has a couple of repositories, and for all the group of repositories, you have just one Jenkins instance. To request a Jenkins instance, you have to go to the Bugzilla. Here is the link. And which goes here. You have to open community bug and just click on CI Jenkins and put all the things that are required for your requests. Then you will have to wait a couple of days and then start implementing your build and release jobs. So now the jobs itself. I wanted to show things in JSONP, but as you can see, I can't. So I have to do some workaround. So let's go to JSONB. And here I have a couple of jobs there. So the most important at the beginning is some continuous build job, which is just about triggering the build on GitHub merges. So this is the detail of the job. There is nothing complicated, just you have to configure Git repository, polycm, run it, let's say, every hour or whatever you want, and then just get some Java home, Maven home, and run Maven to do the build for you. And then you can display test results and other things. So this is the easy one. If you want to do release job, it's a bit more complicated. So first problem is that in most cases, we are trying to keep master branches in GitHub read only. So if you would like to release and tag your revision, then you should do things in separate branch, which is then pushed back to the GitHub. And after that, you can just create pull requests to merge it back to the master branch. So to do so, I created a bit more complicated job, which starts with a couple of parameters. Maybe I can show the interface first. So if we want to do the release, we have to provide some information. So this is the release version. Then you need to provide a version of the next development cycle, which is usually last version number +1. Then which branch to use for the release build. And then I just added 2 checkboxes. One is that if you want to overwrite existing version with some fixes, and if you want to do the dry run without pushing things into Sonotype and GitHub. So now how this is implemented. So first I need to define the form with all the versions. Then again, Git source code management. I have to work with the branch that is coming from the form. And then another thing is SSH. So for accessing GitHub, I need SSH agent to be configured in the Jenkins CI. This is another thing you have to request in your bug when you ask for creating the Jenkins instance. And then the build script itself. So at the beginning, there is some environment, again, Maven, Java, path settings. Then I'm using some Maven plugins to play with version and other things. So first thing is to check that we are working with the snapshot. And if not, we'll just throw an error and exit. Another thing is that in the forms, you can just fill nothing. And in that case, it will try to compute all the versions itself. So there is some code that is retrieving current snapshot version. Then it's trying to count release version and next development cycle versions. And you can see all of them. And then there is some code that is playing with the branches and tags. So if you check in override, it will try to delete existing branch and tag in the GitHub and recreate them again. Then there is just typical, well, in this case, I'm not using a Maven release plugin. I am doing things manually. So I have to use a versions plugin to set the version, then put things into the GitHub Git manually, do the Maven build, sign, and deploy, and at the end push all the things into the GitHub. Unfortunately, I cannot show you second script which contains release plugin, but I think it's available here on the wiki page. So the wiki page in the JSON-P project contains all those things. So what are the input parameters, what they do, how I am processing them, then how to take care of all the branches and tags. And here is the sample with Maven release plugin.
So, question?
Sorry?
Yeah, Thomas, and I don't know if this is for Dmitry or yourself. This is Kevin Sutter. I'm just kind of wondering, all of this scripting code that you're showing us, is this something that, like, is there a template that gets automatically populated for us, or should we be cutting and pasting from your example or from Markus's example? I'm just kind of wondering, how do we get started with the actual script?
Yeah, so the bad thing is that at this moment, you will probably have to copy-paste everything.
Okay.
Kevin, basically, I duplicated, I copied all these scripts to the wiki page, which I sent a link, which were in my slides, right? JSON-P release job. So it's easy. You just go to that wiki page and you will see all this code there, and you can copy paste to your job from there. Also, on that wiki page, there is a screenshot in PDF format of the whole of the Jenkins job. So you can see what other plugins are there. And Tomas explained what kind of plugins are there a little bit at the beginning of his talk. Yeah, okay, it looks like that.
Yeah, here's the link. So
So, sorry, this is Roberto from Tommy Tribe. So to clarify, so all the jobs from the E4J should follow this exact setup with all the same plugins, all the same scripts, everything like you guys set up over here.
We are not forcing you to use our samples. So you can use 2 jobs, Tomas's and Markus's, as a reference, right? So it's totally up to you. You can copy it, or you can come out with something else which achieves the same goal. And if you do, you're welcome. Maybe your solution will be better. Just if you do it better, create a wiki page, explain to us, maybe we will copy it.
Okay, just to clarify, I don't want to make it better or actually have more work.
That's bad that you don't want to make it better. You should want to make it better.
Well, I'm pretty sure that you guys made an awesome job over there. So
just kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just take it easy. All we wanted to do is just to simplify it for everyone. But if you wanted to do it your way, well, it's up to you. So maybe I can just go on. So there are a couple of more things to do. So if the release job finishes, it just pushes all the things into GitHub. So there is a new branch, new tag, and all the artifacts are uploaded into Sonatype staging repository. So you still have to do a couple of manual steps. First one is to do additional testing and close and do the release. And the last thing is to take care of the branch. So create pull request from it, push it into the master, and then if it's small project, then just delete the branch. And for the big project, you can keep it for sustaining and for minor releases. Oh, there are still a couple of things that are in my to-do list. First one is to automate those things. So if it's possible to create pull request for the branch from Jenkins, and then play with Maven Access plugin to automate at least closing things in staging repo. But well, unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to do that. So I think it's all from my side.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions to Tomas? No, good. So Tomas, please stop sharing, and we will pass presentation to Markus.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen. I did my best to check it before with Dmitry. I have a slightly different setup. Actually, we also have 3 pipelines, just we saw in Tomas' solution, but we use different ways to perform the same tasks. I will start with the last one Tomas ended with. We have a file inside of our repository, which is named Travis YML, which triggers external build service. So this is not from the Eclipse Foundation. This is some external company, and we use it because it's so deeply integrated in GitHub, and it's really, really easy. You just provide a file like this, and it basically tells the service that we need several JVMs, and then it shows to the tool how to build our software. So we have a normal Maven call here. So that's all. There's nothing more to configure. The only thing we ask the Eclipse Foundation for is to allow that external service to attach to our GitHub repository. So we opened a bug in the Bugzilla of the Eclipse Foundation and asked for doing this, and that's all. And once you have this, every commit you push ends up in an automated CI system, which is already configured and built. So we choose that way because it's just totally easy for external committers or external contributors to have a CI system for every single branch and every single fork without a need to configure anything. The trick is that if we fork the source code, we did it, I can use mine. No, it's forking now. It needs a while. It will copy that Travis file. So now we have a fork, and in that fork is that Travis file. And as I are in my own repository or my own account for that Travis to access, I already have fully working. Sorry, I can't click at that position. I'm screwed here. I have a completely running CI system. So this is what Thomas said, what is not working in his solution right now because he had no time. We didn't need that time because it's really nothing else than simply dropping in that single file and asking once the Eclipse Foundation to allow Travis access. So this is how we work together with external contributors so they can see if their code would build correctly. The second thing we get from them is this little icon we see here that says build parsing. We see this in the original one. Here we have a URL given in that README file. So we see if the master branch builds correctly. That's a small gimmick, but it's pretty cool. Okay, now getting back to the original question of releasing, we also asked the Eclipse Foundation with their Bugzilla tool that we want to have our own instance of Jenkins and that we need access for OSSRH. It's exactly the same way to set it up that Thomas already explained, so I don't repeat it. Inside of our Jenkins, we have two tasks. One simply does nightly builds. I come back to this one later. And one is for the official release. And this is pretty simple. I'm going into configuration. And what it basically does is that it pulls the source code from GitHub and it only selects the EE4J8 branch. So we are sure that we're really releasing what Dmitry wants us to release and nothing else. So the last step is that it triggers Maven. And in Maven, we have a special configuration. This is what this -p does. It passes in the string named release to enable a special mode. They call it profile, I call it mode, and I will show what it does. So inside of our API project, we have the POM. I hope you can read it. I'll try to enlarge it a bit. And inside of this, we have this release somewhere, I hope. Where's this profile? Okay. Let's search for the profile. No, that's not it. No, the wrong one. Oh, I'm in the wrong branch. That's the problem. I need to go to EE4J. Okay, what's this? Okay, there it is. Okay, now profile. There it is. So we have the profile named release. So this must be the same string. It does not need to be released exactly. You can name it X or Y. So it's just for readability. And by this string, we see what we will ask Maven to do actually. And what it does is that it puts in some plugins, in particular Nexus staging plugin, which is simply there for asking on OSSRH to open a staging area where we can put in files that we want to release without actually releasing them. So there is some kind of suspend mode until we press the trigger. This is needed because, in fact, we don't want a single artifact to be released, and we don't want to release right now. So it simply collects the original jar file, the source jar, the Java docs jar, the numbers given by GPG, which is the second plugin which runs here, and then it simply will stop. It will not actually push to OSSRH. At that moment, we ask for a review with the PMC and with the MO, and when the review is done, then we go into the Nexus staging area. We have given from Sonar type access to that browser interface. So there is a small button called release, and we just manually press on release. So actually, our script is not able to release. It just prepares to release, and the actual release is done manually by a real person clicking on that button. Okay, and what we have here also is that we need to create Java docs. We actually don't need the release plugin. This is from old times. I just forgot to remove it actually. We create the hash codes for the artifacts, and then we tell Maven not to invoke the original deploy plugin because this will do the wrong things. So we say skip. Instead of that, we invoke that Nexus staging plugin, which runs at the deploy task. It's a bit confusing because it's the same name than this plugin. And here's the configuration where all this shall happen. So this is the server from OSSRH where all the stuff ends up. And this one tells not to automatically release. So it actually shall stop when it's all uploaded. So the next part here, and that's the end of the profile, is that we have a repository on OSSRH, which we need to give the actual URL because the Jenkins server doesn't know. Well, it's basically the same one for all projects in Jakarta, but the server just does not know. So every project has to repeat this. This one is not needed. We actually don't do snapshots on OSSRH. We have a different pipeline for that one.
Markus, sorry, I can I interrupt you a little bit? I think that this repository information is actually in the parent form, right? So you just repeated it here because you are not using the EE4J parent form. Is it correct?
Yes, that's correct. Because just for those who want to use the parent form is fine, actually, but it is incompatible with what we do here with our snapshots. The parent form actually would do normal nightly builds also on OSSRH, and we don't do that. So we actually don't use this one. We need our original servers here because we are using the Eclipse organization's Nexus for our nightly build. So we cannot. Yeah.
This is totally fine. The comment is that if project actually uses EE4J parent form, then and would like to also deploy their nightly builds, then this configuration you're demonstrating now is not needed. Correct?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct.
This is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. If you stick with the parent POM, you don't need to have to copy all this. I just want to show because we do not use that parent POM. Then it's a bit shorter here. Okay, but I think you got the idea. So we are not using this one in release mode. We use the other section in release mode. If we are not in release mode, then we are using this repository. And the difference, release mode or not, is where is it? Is here. So we do this only if we really want to do an official release. If we want to do a nightly build, we don't have this one here. Okay, so back to the nightly builds. Nightly builds are a bit more complex because we wanted to have nightly builds for several branches. So we use a special plugin that is already installed on Eclipse Foundation's Jenkins. We didn't know that plugin before. We had a lot of great help from the Eclipse Foundation's administrators to get it running. And what this does is that it actively checks for the existing branches. So we need a configuration for this to make it work. And if you want to follow this, it's best to look what we have done in our repository. There's another configuration file called Jenkins file. So this Jenkins file actually is a configuration for the multi-branch nightly builds task. And what it does is it basically says you shall regularly trigger builds. So we want it once a night. We need a JDK and Maven with a shortcut for calling Maven here. And then it's setting up stages. We have a single stage called nightly build. And this shall only run for select branches. Actually, it should not run for this one. This is not good. And then it does steps. And the step number one is we want to compile our API jar file. And the step number two is we want to compile our examples folder. And this is automatically done for every branch. So if we go into this one, pipeline, we will see a graphic. So we can see the stages here, and we can see the builds automatically triggered every night here. And this is quite neat. Actually, it's not working perfectly yet. We're working on this, but this is a cool thing because we can have a nightly build made up for feature branches. We want to work with feature branches in future, and so every feature branch would have its own nightly build. So that's the basic idea, and we don't have to configure a lot. We can exclude branches. We don't need to have to. I know that. So it's still work in progress, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, that's basically it. If you have any questions, then start asking.
Hi, I have one question. Is there any main reason why the nightly builds are based upon Jenkins pipelines versus the other one that is made in the Jenkins UI?
Actually, it's a bit of historic reason. We started with Travis, which worked rather well. Travis does no nightly build. It builds at once. So it's more often, which is better. But we wanted to have the possibility to fill the binary artifacts into a Nexus server. And the Eclipse Foundation told us we cannot give the configuration for uploading into a Nexus server in a public system like Travis. So we may not write it into the Travis file. So they told us we may upload into their own Nexus server, but this is only possible from Jenkins. This is not possible from Travis. So we started with Jenkins for the nightly build. And then we learned that anyway, we have to use Jenkins for publishing the release. So now the next step would be to get rid of Travis and replace it by Jenkins, but this would be a real lot of work. But so as it is running anyway, we just stopped work on this transition, and now we live with both worlds in parallel because it's simply working at the moment. Maybe we will get rid of Travis. I don't know.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions?
Yeah, mine was something similar with that because of Jenkins and Travis. If you were going to keep both, or if you're going to get rid of Travis.
Yeah, just as I said, at the moment we stick with both. It's working great, and maybe we will get rid of Travis when we learn to configure Jenkins to automatically do the builds for anonymous people. I don't know if that is any possible, because this would need to have a better integration between Jenkins and GitHub. So it depends on the actual need to go away from Travis, and it depends on the lot of work to make it work in Jenkins.
I see.
It's a different way. So getting rid of Jenkins is not possible. We must have Jenkins. You cannot push to OSSRH or to the Eclipse Foundation's Nexus without Jenkins. Only Jenkins can do that.
Is Jenkins? Are you able to see Jenkins builds and basically reports, all that stuff that you have over there anonymously, or do you need an account?
Sorry, your audio is a bit screwed. I didn't really understand.
Sorry.
Well.
Let me try to speak a little bit clearer. I was asking if you required an account to check all the Jenkins stuff, or if you're able to at least see the reports and the build status with an anonymous account, or actually no account at all.
Actually, the Jenkins account here is from the Eclipse Foundation, so I'm logged in. It does not work. At least I think so, that it does not work anonymously. I think it will only work with accounts. So that's one problem where Travis is great, because Travis works with the GitHub account, and everybody has a GitHub account.
I believe that only project committers have access to the project Jenkins instance. So this is why it's a problem for you to see JSON P release job or JAX-RS release job, because you're simply not committer in that project, then you won't have access. This is one of the reasons why I created the screenshot and pasted the source code to the wiki pages.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's fine. If I log off, I think, yeah, it's gone. I don't see anything.
Yeah, but even usually, even if you might set it up in a way that only committers can change and edit jobs, but people from the outside can still see the results. I'm not sure if that's a possible policy, or.
I think it's a question to Eclipse webmasters.
Sure. So apparently we had to limit the permissions for anonymous users for legal reasons. And as far as I understood, this might not, or this might change in the future again. But for now, we are required to not give access to the public to view the builds and the artifacts.
Clear enough, Frederick. Thank you. And if that's it with this topic, I wanted to mention one thing. Markus, you said that to actually make a release, you need to go to OSSRH web page and manually press the button. This is actually what we would like to avoid, right? Because you need to have your personal account, which has rights to the JavaX groups in OSS/RH, right? So for security reasons, the idea was that only Eclipse project account has these rights, right? And to actually make a release, we need to create possibly another Jenkins job, which is triggered manually, which will actually simulate pressing the button and make the actual release. That's my comment.
Yes. In fact, what you could do is use the plugin I showed before, because the Nexus staging plugin actually could release. It could virtually press the button. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong one. Just a second. Staging. Again, the wrong one. This one. Where is it? Staging. This plugin, it's called Nexus Staging plugin, but actually it's a complete remote control for OSS/RH. So you could simply set up another profile here, which would virtually trigger the button, and you could offload the login information inside of the configuration of the Jenkins. So we have, I don't know if everybody is aware of what Jenkins can do. There is a secret store which would hold the login information. So you can trigger the button without going on the browser page, actually.
Yeah, this is exactly the goal, and you just explained that it's possible to do. And the original idea of was to do it exactly as you explained now.
Okay, are there any more questions? Yeah, otherwise I would say it's Dmitry time again, and I stop sharing.
Dmitry, there's a couple of questions in the chat. Can you see those?
First of all, I would like to say thanks for Markus for a perfect presentation. And let me check the questions. From Jim. Are automatic builds required to be set up, or should we work with the owners to determine if they are required? I think the answer is that automatic builds, you mean what? You mean nightly? Or I suppose that nightly builds, it's completely up to the project. If you want to publish nightly builds, free to do that. If you don't want to publish nightly builds, it's okay. For instance, we are not publishing nightly builds for JSON-P and JSON-B because there is no point, right? But automatic build is definitely needed if you want to release the project, right? So before releasing something, we need to build it, right? So this is why we have two jobs, two tasks created. One is to build the project, and another one to release what you just built. I hope I answered.
Yeah, I was mostly thinking about whether or not nightlies were needed or not, and
this is up to you, right? So release is 100% needed, right? But nightlies, no, as I said, we don't do it for JSON-P and JSON-B because we are not really contributing there for every day, right? APIs are not usually changing very often, so I don't see that we need nightly builds.
Okay.
Okay, so other questions? I don't see other questions there.
That was it, thanks.
No, here is a question. Are build release volunteers need for all projects marked as to do on the spreadsheet? Basically, as this is from Scott. as I said, the main source of truth is GitHub, right? So all issues, all unassigned issues on GitHub, we need someone to work on that. So yes, we need contributors. We have a slight problem. The problem is to work with Jenkins, to request a job created, to make modifications to a Jenkins jobs, you must be a project committer. So without that, you won't have access to Jenkins. There is a workaround, and the workaround is create a Jenkins file, a Jenkins job file, similar to, not similar, exactly that, what Markus showed on his presentation. Make committers review that, publish it, and some of the committers will update the Jenkins instance. This is a bit complicated, so I am suggesting that you self-assign only two CI/CD tasks only if you're a committer of the project, to make it faster, to make it less complicated for yourself. Other questions?
Hi, this is Scott again. I had asked that question. I'm not a committer on any of the projects. I'm willing to volunteer to help. I would think becoming a committer on some project might be the way, a easier path, like you just said. Does that make sense for those of us that aren't committers to pick a project to help on and then become a committer, or is that not reasonable in this time frame?
I will forward this question to Eclipse folks.
Eclipse folks are on the line right now. The right way to do it is to start contributing to the project. If there's for some reason the project team is not able to respond to your contribution, then we have some mechanisms to help there. Is this thing on?
It is. We listen to you.
Okay, Scott, did Wayne answer a question?
So, I mean, I've contributed to Eclipse Link, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, but I'm not a committer. I mean, on that. So
the projects though are operating on GitHub, and they can accept pull requests. If you have other contributions to make, then make them. Like the way to become a committer is to start by making contributions to the project, and contributions can come in the form of code. They can come in the form of contribution, other forms of energy. Again, if the project team is unable to respond for whatever reason, then I can figure out ways to deal with that problem. But by and large, most of these projects should have committers that are active that should respond to your input.
yeah, mostly I want to help with some of the creating the release plugin. I mean, the release jobs, the CI integration, CI/CD integration, and I think we previously just said it's most effective if you are a committer already to do that. So I'm just trying to figure out if there is a path for non-committers to effectively help out quickly enough. And I think I understand what you're saying about becoming a committer, and I don't particularly care about becoming a committer for this time frame, but I do want, if I do help on some of these to-do tasks, I'd like it to be an effective experience, not have it be long and slow and drawn out. I suppose to do each change through pull request, I guess. So I'm not, maybe I missed something and I'm not clear about how we help as non-committers.
Basically, if you help, if you would like to help in CI/CD pipelines, right? Then you said that you would like to configure Nexus plugins, right? So in order to do that, you actually don't need to have access to the Jenkins repository, the repository instance, right? So I'm suggesting that you make your job. After that, you submit a PR to the project, which has your modified POM XML, right, with added profile, added Nexus plugin, right? So committers will review that, right, and test it on the real Jenkins instance. You won't have access there because of Eclipse restrictions. So this is the problem I was talking about. But the help is definitely appreciated. So if you want to do it, you are very, very welcome. Select a project from the GitHub page, GitHub board I demonstrated, and start working on it. And thank you very much for your willing to contribute. Is it okay? Scott, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think we should try and move forward. I just wanted to make sure I understood exactly how we thought this all would be done in terms of, me and others that aren't committers contributing, and basically we would prototype something locally and then just without Jenkins maybe on our own machines, and then submit a POM change, and that the committer will try it out on Jenkins then? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, this is exactly what I said.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We still have 2 minutes. Are there any more questions? Okay, no questions. So it looks like we finished. So thanks everyone for participation. And again, if you have any questions, if you would like to self-assign, I provided all information, and we have that EE4J built mailing list. There you can ask questions. Thank you very much. We finished.
Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.